Welcome to episode 15 of season 5 of the Gateway Geeks Podcast. This time we continue our long-form pechakucha presentations with Chris's uncovering of the uncanny alignment of Dungeons & Dragons character classes and the evolution of Star Trek. So here are your hosts, Chris, Sarah, Tracy, and Joe. All right, Chris, you have control.
Am I the host?
You are the co-host because I have to record it to my computer too. So
Gotcha. All right. Hello. How y'all doing?
Should we introduce ourselves for the episode, or?
It's still your show, Joe.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to just point to everyone and then I'm okay. Welcome everybody to Tracy. We'll do it. Don't worry. Welcome everybody to season 5, episode 15 of Gateway Geeks Podcast. This is going to be Chris's turn to give us a presentation. I'm Joe, and to my left is Tracy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy.
This isn't working. Sarah, Chris, you guys figure it out. Fuck it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jane Connor.
Hi, I'm Chris. You're going to hear my voice way too much this week.
As opposed to like other weeks?
Yeah, fuck you. Look, you're out of line, but you're right. All right. So I had a concept. I tried to do it on my cell phone from a hotel room during a blizzard.
Sure.
It looked like shit. It was way too long and way too in the weeds, and I hated it. So I deleted the whole thing and started over about 3 hours ago. So here's what I have. It's going to suck, and it's probably too visual for a podcast recording. So
You're really selling this.
Yeah, no. It's also, I should state, as I'm trying to remember how to screen share. Where's the... It's literally a big glowing green button in the middle. Jesus Christ. All right.
There we go. Excellent.
There's not a lot I know in life. I'm largely an idiot, but here's a couple of rantings and ramblings about comparing the evolution of Star Trek series to the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons. Welcome all to Dungeons and Dilithium.
Very nice.
I love it.
We start, of course, with the OG RPD OD&D, which is, of course, the original series. My points here are, it started it all. It's where it began. Technically, where it started was a Western series called Wagon Train, which was part of my old presentation. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. You're not actually getting graded on this. What are you doing?
For people who are listening, what is OD&D, Chris?
Oh, original Dungeons and Dragons.
First edition Dungeons and Dragons, if you will.
Yeah, it was originally just called Dungeons and Dragons, and then we all just started calling it OD&D because it got confusing. And we like acronyms because we're fucking nerds.
Mm-hmm.
So the original series and original D&D, no background lore needed to appreciate it. Everything is just there on the screen or in those, I think it was 30 pages was the entirety of the instructions for original Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, didn't original come from, was it chainmail?
Yes.
Where there was like, okay, so you'll get into that. I won't. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. I did before. And it was like, Joe, man, I had like 20 minutes of shit before we got to Star Trek.
My question though, Chris, is Wagon Train analogous to chainmail, the tabletop game?
Not at all.
Questions for later. Okay.
Nope.
Proceed.
Both of them are wildly unbalanced and inconsistent. As all good speculative fiction and role-playing systems tend to be. Women? And only 3 classes, really.
Right. Yes.
We have
That's true.
the Fighting Man, who is James T. Kirk. I actually need you all not to mute yourselves when you laugh this time, because these visuals are great. At least the first couple ones are. I started running out of time.
What is that alien species called?
The quote on the screen is, of course, "I killed a cat hooker in a bar fight once." Which is true of Kirk on screen, and also the Fighting Man, of anyone who played Dungeons & Dragons long enough. That's the picture is Kirk fighting the Gorn.
The Gorn, that's
right. Tragically, I couldn't find a shot of both the Gorn and Kirk shirtless, because he would always find an excuse to get that shirt ripped. At least in the first 2 seasons. But the 3rd season,
crucial. Yep.
By the 3rd season, he was getting a little more 70s-ish.
Yeah. He had that girdle on in the 3rd season. Yeah.
Next up, we have the Magic User, who, much like Spock, Magic User's powers are ill-defined and seem to come up out of nowhere, changes as needed.
Right.
And this is just a literal quote of Spock's. I couldn't come up with a better one than, "If I were human, I believe my response would be, go to hell, if I were human." Part of the joke here being that only the human and elf could be a magic user.
Right.
You know, because race is very important in these old ones. We'll get into a little bit of that later.
Oh my god.
And of course, the cleric.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bones. Damn it, Jim, I'm a healer, not a DPS. Now, from there on, we go to let's get more complicated with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is, of course, the Star Trek animated series. Some of you are thinking, oh, he must mean Lower Decks. No. No, the original series, animated series.
Honestly, I predicted original animated series, but I was like, no, that doesn't make sense.
Look, all your old friends are back, plus a bunch of new classes with confusing mechanics and overlap. Defo assumes you've been keeping up with the past lore. Some of the episodes are just literally like part 2s of episodes. They'll just be like, hey, we wanted to go back in time, so we went back to the Guardian planet. Oh, you don't know what the Guardian of Tomorrow is? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Guardian of Forever, excuse me. City on the Edge of Tomorrow is the episode. I should have a bibliography at the bottom here. It's underrated and memeable as fuck. Here's Sulu after his dick fell off because a girl said something mean on the internet.
Oh, incredible.
The Assassin.
Who is this? I've never seen this thing before in my life.
This is the animated series when they introduced the cat people that, you know, one of which Kirk would later drown in a fish tank.
Yeah.
And here he is. They're kind of like proto Ferengi / Klingons. They were just like greedy and angry, and here they are stealing a laser gun out of a loot crate. Like literally the whole episode revolves like this is how in the weeds the lore of this show would get. They said, oh, well, everyone knows there used to be a species called the Slavers that enslaved the entire galaxy, and they have these special magical boxes that you can find full of their old technology. And this one is a ray gun that blows up mountains.
Can't we just refer to them as cat boys?
There you go. Here we go.
I legit thought it was from Thundercats, Sarah.
We have the introduction of the Druid. Oop. Yes.
Are these real? Are
Yes.
you
He was one of the main cast members. He's just a weird bird man. They were like, hey, we're animated now. We don't have to make costumes. We can go fucking wild.
Right.
I mean, that's fair.
The Paladin. This is where Kirk learns that if he just believes in magic enough, he can get magic. Which
Does
he's
that
used.
say
Salem, Massachusetts. Yes.
Of course.
This is Kirk using magic to defend his new best friend Satan from a pilgrim.
Sure.
The animated series is fucking wild. I'm telling you, it's great.
Classic premise.
The animation is terrible. It's all janky as shit. And the thief.
Oh my.
Welcome
Whoa.
back, Harry Mudd.
I was going to say, is this racist? This feels racist. I don't know if it actually is.
No, it's a white dude. It's a Harry Harcourt Mudd.
It looks like Saddam Hussein with a handlebar mustache.
What ethnicity is he supposed to be? Is my question.
I mean,
I don't know that it could be xenophobic still.
It could be.
They brought him back in Discovery, played by Rainn Wilson.
What?
Yeah, he's sort of like a con man / pimp / thief.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's first introduced showing up to a planet full of miners with no women, with just like a bunch of women. And he's like, hey, I brought you women. Can you pay me a finder's fee if you want to marry them? It's like definitely like a mail order bride situation. And that, by the way, was in the original series.
Oh my god.
That was original. The shit with the animated stuff, even wilder.
So you have space pimp Saddam Hussein. I don't know where you go from that. There's a lot. That's a lot.
And of course, Advanced D&D also introduced everyone's favorite class to shit on, the Bard. Image on screen is Spock being entranced by a woman with a drum.
We've all been there, bud.
Yeah.
Right.
I almost wish there'd been a bard in the original series, because it could have used the great image of Spock fucking wailing on a harp.
That is good.
Which is a thing that would just happen a couple of times in the original series. Often while wearing his like giant like 60s medallion. Yeah, it's great shit.
Was this still voiced by the original cast?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think James Doohan didn't come back for Scotty, but the rest of them were. Interesting. I could be wrong about that. Wait, come back! Second edition. Which is the movies. The original series movies in particular.
Okay.
Mostly back to the original cast, because, you know, how are you going to make the pterodactyl Birdman? Explains what's happening and why you should care, which, you know, a step in the right direction. Not so much the first movie, you know, the one that got Gene Roddenberry kicked off of Star Trek for a while. Remembers they're supposed to entertain, again, starting with Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. But also inconsistent. This is a still from Star Trek V, the Star Trek movie that even most Star Trek fans have never seen, which I am weirdly obsessed with. It was directed by William Shatner. Is, I think, the only movie ever directed by William Shatner.
Oh yeah, this is the one where Captain Kirk is climbing a mountain because he's in love, right?
Yes, it is also the one where Captain Kirk drowns the cat hooker in the fish tank.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Now,
In a bar fight. And this particular image, the dude in white here is Spock's brother.
Mhm.
That's right. Secret Brothers.
Yeah,
Of
which I
course.
should mention is not the first time a previously unmentioned secret sibling has been introduced. You cannot complain about secret siblings in Star Trek. They go right back to the beginning. The first one was Kirk discovering his brother dead on a planet that had been attacked, and it's literally just William Shatner laying on the ground with a fake mustache.
Incredible.
Really practicing his trade there.
This particular image is Spock and Spock's half-brother standing before God.
Sure.
Because, yes, they've been on a mission to find God, who then immediately demands access to the Enterprise, and a suspicious Kirk asks, quite reasonably, what does God need with a starship? Spoiler alert, it's not God. All right. 3rd edition. Engage. We're on to Star Trek The Next Generation. The one that most of our generation kind of onboarded with. The first time I ever played was 3rd edition. I played the other ones going back for nostalgia purposes. It set the mold for 1,000 copies to come. Dug a groove into the brains of nerds so deep that deviating from its formula causes incoherent rage. Got better after ditching its creator. Sorry, Gary Gygax and Gene Roddenberry.
Fair.
You can see the progression of quality of Star Trek The Next Generation getting better as Gene Roddenberry gets sicker and then dies.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Harsh but true. Except for that weird second season where he was really sick and his lawyer took over. Yeah, no, it's a much weirder story. So first off, we have the Paladin, of course, Jean-Luc Picard. Stalwart, firm believer in the Federation, in justice and humanity, goddammit! He's the moral compass of everything. He's our dad. For a whole generation of Star Trek nerds, he just is dad. We want him to be proud of us. And when he's angry, when he's angry, it's not great. When he's disappointed, it's crushing. It is possible to commit no errors and still roll a 1. That is not weakness. That is dice. I have a typo in there. I did this very quickly. Which is, again, just a derivation of an actual quote from the show that just stuck with me way too much as a young nerd, which is, it is possible to commit no errors and still lose. That's not weakness, that's life.
What is that called? Isn't that actually isn't there a name for that? That's like the whatever Moru, right?
The what? I'm
Chris, there's the thing where
Are you talking about the Kobayashi Maru?
Yeah, isn't that what it's about?
No, this is literally about Data getting his ass kicked in a board game.
I'm talking about the concept of that. I'm looking at that.
Oh, the Kobayashi Maru. Yeah, sort of. But there's just a subplot in a whole episode where Data got his ass kicked in a game that he'd only seen 5 seconds before, and he thought he was dysfunctional. So then actually, at the end of the episode, he invents video game trolling because he challenges the guy to a rematch and makes the guy rage quit by not trying to win and just preventing him from winning or enjoying himself. Next up, of course, the Bard. William Reichert and his trombone. The most charismatic motherfucker around. Also quite dexterous, as anyone can attest who has seen him sit down in a chair via the Reichert maneuver. God damn it. This is just a quote from the show. This was part of a poem that he wrote. It pulses unendingly all through the night. all night long.
Jesus.
Next up, we have the cleric, who's
Naturally.
poor Dr. Crusher, Gates McFadden, just never given much to do beyond being a mom / someone for Picard to flirt with occasionally when they remembered that was supposed to be a thing. Oh, I'm just a mom. Call me if someone needs healed. You boys have fun now. They included more female characters in the Next Generation, but, you know.
Yeah.
2 of them were extremely gendered and the third got fridged. The Barbarian. Worf. In the Next Generation, mostly just used for comedic effect, as his only reaction to anything was, Captain, let me kill it. And he would say, no. Like, literally, I think the most common line in all of Star Trek The Next Generation is, no, Worf. Die.
Naturally.
Which is a phenomenal quote from the show, because it needs to be stated that Michael Dorn is hands down the funniest of all of them. And his delivery, this is from Q showing up on the bridge of the Enterprise, being stripped of his immortality and screaming, what do I have to do to they all think he's lying because, you know, he's a trickster. And they're all like, what do I have to do to prove that I'm mortal? And Worf just looks at him and goes, die.
Fair enough.
He's the quintessential Dungeons and Dragons barbarian.
It's very true.
Next up, the Wizard. Wesley Crusher.
It's just like
he studies very hard. He knows a lot of things. Everyone's constantly annoyed with him. And if he gets hit at all, that motherfucker is down.
Is this like how if you make it to age 26 and you're still a virgin, you become a wizard? Is that what it is?
Well, more like the Wizard has a lot of incredible utility, but most of the time he's just rattling off facts and everyone's annoyed at him. Shut up, Wizard! The Paladin. I actually like Wesley Crusher, but God, he's fun to pick on. He's just a fucking nerd who needs a swirly, and so was I. He was the kid we all wanted to be up there on the ship. He's the kid that occasionally you would think you're smart enough to be, but like, no, sadly not. The Ranger. Lieutenant Yar, the first security officer. She's quick, she's nimble, she's dexterous. She got killed by a gelatinous cube. I hope Aaron listens to this, because most of these jokes are like for him, I guess. Oh, poor Yar. Yep, got fridged. She left the show. She left the show because they never really had anything interesting for her to do. Though interestingly, she got brought back later as a much more interesting character. It's a weird story. She got brought back as her own daughter after she had gone back in the past and had a half Romulan daughter who became one of their best villains.
Okay.
Yeah, look, it's Star Trek. It's a lot of timey-wimey bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The monk. Data. A little dispassionate, a little detached. Not quite sure what the fuck the rest of the party is really up to, but what kind of wants to join in? Weirdly strong. Had sex with the Ranger, but was gentlemanly enough not to tell anyone, unlike the fucking Bard.
Oh.
Sorcerer. Geordie LaForge.
Okay.
Sees shit that maybe isn't really there. Always comes up with a solution. Charismatic but can't get the ladies. I've always thought Arcane Bolt could solve any problem. The original quote was technology. I was reaching here a bit. Geordie LaForge has always got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
There's so many subplots that involve him just completely striking out with women who may or may not have existed in the first place. One of them was completely imaginary. One of them was turned into a dog that tried to eat him. One of them, it was the whole thing. Interestingly enough, with Geordi, they did also with Star Trek invent cyber stalking and falling in love with people profile before you met them. When he sort of kind of accidentally falls in love with a holographic representation of the woman who designed the engines on the ship. And then there's a later episode where he actually meets her. He didn't know that she was married. Comes on way too strong. She finds that he's been cyber stalking him, and gets legitimately pissed off about it. And then he gets all mad about, I wasn't like that. Nope, sorry, Geordi, you're being a weird creeper. Again, Star Trek way ahead of the curve. Invented falling in love with someone's MySpace page.
I do appreciate how in this picture you can see Riker's trombone in the background.
Yes. I just like it because you get that goateed last, like Geordi LaForge, played by LeVar Burton, is just sexy as fuck. And the fact that he had so much trouble with women, man, famously getting back to Star Trek dealing with race, when a Paramount executive came to the first day of shooting and saw Geordi's visor and was like, what's that about? Like, oh, he's blind. That's how he sees. And the executive said, what, he's black and blind? Why give him two disabilities?
Oh, God.
What on earth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and apparently,
God.
the producers had to like sort of physically restrain LeVar Burton. It's like, please let us handle this, please. You'll never see him again, I promise.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Yep. And the druid, Deanna Troi. Her powers are a little vague, kind of ill-defined. Would change edition to edition, season to season. Sometimes it's inconvenient to have a somewhat telepathic person. They would just have her go visit her mom for an episode. Sometimes the writers would just forget that she's empathic and would just for some reason she would just not speak up and mention that all these people they're dealing with are lying. Another character with a lot of promise that they just had no idea what to do with. She had a mysterious pregnancy episode. Mostly just known as Riker's, crush / future wife. She had an episode where she lost her psychic powers and was like, I can't be a therapist anymore. And everyone's like, I mean, Deanna, like, you went to college. Like, you took all those classes. Most therapists are not psychic. You can probably figure this out. She's, like, really empathic, you guys. Which, again, is mostly a dig at the writers. I love her. All right, the Gentleman's Favorite, edition 3.5. Hey, third edition was working good. Let's make it even better. Deep Space Nine. This was, for a lot of Joe and I's generation, this was our favorite. Like, this was our go-to. This was the shit. I forgot to animate this one. Take what worked last time, double down on what folks love. No one asked for it, but everyone eventually loved it. I know my first reaction was like, oh, so they're going to sit where no one has boldly sat before. Did we just get a new Star Trek a couple of years ago? I don't need to get involved in this. And the first season was very lackluster, but eventually became my favorite Star Trek series. The people playing the characters can make it gay, but the publisher does not support this. We'll get to Garrick.
Well, yeah.
And finally let all races play all roles. A first for Star Trek and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep. It's got a
First
black
off,
captain, Tracy.
First off, we got the motherfucking fighter, Benjamin Pimpan Sisko. This guy, he is not Picard. He will not take your shit. He will poison your planet. Fuck you. The DM gave us a ship, and I strapped so many guns to it, it almost sank. Yeah, in fiction, he is the guy who designed the Defiant, a little bitty tiny ship that was just made of guns. Again, this is also the series that was made after Gene Roddenberry died. So they were like, oh no, we can actually have conflict between people. And also, I would like to point out that this is from a later season as well, because you can tell, because again, he also got to have the goatee, which like they were like obsessed for a long time with under the Rick Berman era of all the black people being like clean shaven and non-threatening looking, and then just eventually let them look cool. Yeah. Shaved head, goatee, that's the look. Next up, the Paladin, Kira Nerys. She's a woman of faith and a badass. Mm-hmm. She is the first character in Star Trek history to be a person of faith. This is never mocked by any of the characters who openly don't understand it and are not comfortable with it. But they respect her and they learn to work with her. May the prophets forgive you, I won't. She is a stone cold badass. And also one of the few female, definitely like one of the first female characters to be fully well-rounded. Mm-hmm. She has romantic subplots where she doesn't just have to like play the wifey. She is consistently, and her character arc is always really interesting too, because she's learning to go from being a terrorist to being a government official with responsibilities, and she doesn't like it. She often would much rather just go back to being a terrorist. Yeah. Just watch her slowly verge from being like, all right, we're finally free to govern ourselves, to maybe slowly thinking like, man, fuck being governed. Like, oh man, no, we don't want to join the Federation either. Like, fuck this shit. We're just gonna be over here doing our thing. The cleric, of course, little baby Dr. Bashir. Oh. Freshly out of medical school, he's cute. Garrick wants to fuck him. He thinks everyone wants to fuck him, which is kind of true, but a little bit off-putting. He's a sexy baby.
Yeah.
Next up, the rogue. Fucking Garrick. Spy turned tailor, left behind on the station when everyone else left. What's to say about Garrick? He is openly played as gay by the actor, who was just constantly flirting with the good doctor. Rick Berman hated this, would constantly come back being like, quit with the gay shit. So they introduced a female love interest for him that the actor never bought into. He was just super awkward around her all the time, sabotaged it from the get-go. It was great, which was sad though, because I did like Zial, and then eventually they fridged her too. Because that's what you do with a female character you don't know what to do with. Giving me a name tag that says we'll stab you in the back hardly seems friendly. This actually comes from an actual quote in the show where he went to a symposium on the Cardassian occupation, and you only see him as he's leaving, very annoyed that they gave him a name tag that said former Cardassian occupier Elam Garrick. The druid, of course. Odo, yes. Security chief, shapeshifter. He turned into a bird one time. I'm stretching a little bit on this one.
Sleeps
Definitely
in a
loves
bucket.
that wild shape. None of the rest of you can turn into a bird, and frankly, it's disgusting. And like any good druid, he's just constantly annoyed at how dumb his compatriots are. We have the wizard, Dax. She's smart. She's studied hard. She's very smart. And she's incredibly fragile and has had to re-roll her character about 11 times. Including once in show when the actress left. So they fridged her too, but then her memories got passed on to Ezri. Again, another re-roll. Who is a great character in her own right, but every time she's on screen, you just miss Jadzia. The Artificer. The long-suffering Chief O'Brien. Why does everyone enjoy my suffering? He can make anything. He can fix anything. He's exhausted because everyone keeps breaking the shit he made for them. For the love of God, when will the suffering end? It was actually in the writer's Bible that it's always funny when Miles suffers. Maybe an Irish stereotype, but hey, we'll just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Barbarian. Bringing Worf back. They take me seriously this time, but I'm still the funniest. He fucking rules in Deep Space Nine. And the bard of the group is, of course... Why am I blanking on his fucking name? Jesus, I prepped
Oh
notes.
my God.
I wrote him down.
I
Quark.
just did too.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Quark, who's just pure charisma. Like, everyone knows he's up to no good constantly, and he's never really successful, ever. But everyone just enjoys him being there. He's plucky.
The actor looks more natural as a Ferengi than as a person.
I roll to seduce the Klingon, which he is successful at several times. Next up, I see what you're trying to do here, 4th edition. 4th edition, I enjoyed it. It had a lot of problems, especially as it went on. A lot of wasted potential. So, of course, it's Voyager. First off, the Avenger, Catherine Janeway.
Mm-hmm.
You want to love her, but she's sometimes a little bit quick on the, I will fucking burn you to the ground. You understand me? We come in peace, shoot to kill. I actually like Janeway, but admittedly, like, the Janeway maneuver is just like activate self-destruct, plot a ramming course. Like all holy war, this one I tried to work in a lot of the weird classes that only existed in 4th edition, and like all holy warriors, you know, sometimes quite passionate, and a bit of a martyr complex, as she literally constantly tries to martyr herself. The Shaman. So many mistakes were made, both in this concept, Chakotay. They brought in an infamous Pretendian to be their consultant. They never even bother mentioning like what tribe Chakotay's from or any of his traditions. They have a spirit animal episode where it's like, oh no, we can't be doing drugs on Star Trek, so he has like a peyote machine. Yeah, look, we can all admit mistakes were made. Maybe a cool concept, definitely needed to be rethought in both the character and the class. The Cleric, who's just the doctor. He's a fucking hologram. No one wanted to play healer, so I'm just a nameless NPC. Not much more to be said. That Robert Picardo, great actor, doing what he can. They intended to further develop him as like, coming into his own. They never did much with that. Again, the show, a lot of great seeds planted in the beginning. And then they're like, fuck it. Let's just make the next generation again. The monk. Because, I'm Grumpy Spock. Barbarian Wizard Multiclass. Torres is a character that I loved so much in the first episode and the first season. And then they just rounded all of her rough edges off by the third season. This is a woman who spent the first episode just in a constant rage trying to beat the shit out of everyone, figuring out what's going on. Spent the whole first season trying to prove herself as being every bit as good as an engineer as these Starfleet types, because she was a pirate who just got sucked into the Delta Quadrant, and they're like, well, we need an engineer. This angry pirate's pretty good with the Hydra spanner. And I'm also disappointed in me.
Oh.
She literally, again, spends the first episode of the series raging, screaming, trying to rip the head off of everyone, and spends the finale in childbirth.
Okay.
Yep. She gives birth to her daughter as they get home. Fuck me. That's just so much wasted potential. The Scion. Kess. What is there to be said about Kess? She was born hot yesterday. Character is literally 3 years old. Has psychic powers, much like the Scion. They never could really figure out how psionic powers were going to fit into 4th edition / Star Trek. And eventually they finally made her powerful and interesting just in time for her to leave the show. Entirely. Because, I didn't put these in the wrong order. Oh, well. The next up is the Rogue, which is Tom Paris, who's introduced in prison. They're like, this is a bad boy. He's like, we didn't even know they had prisons in Star Trek. Oh, man. He must have done some fucked up shit. But interestingly, he was actually supposed to, the actor played a character in The Next Generation who was covering up, basically accidentally killing a fellow a person, and basically him and Wesley Crusher were covering up the death of a classmate when they were like all part of like a fighter what do you call it, like air show squadron, and they were trying to do like the forbidden maneuver, and it's forbidden because his ship blew up and he died. And originally he was supposed to be that guy, but then they were like, no, that's too interesting, having a guy with like actual blood on his hands who never recanted. So instead they come up with some stupid backstory like, oh, he lied about how some officers died for like an hour, but then he told the truth and they sent him to jail anyway. He's boring. I went to jail for being a quippy smartass. In the beginning, they were kind of like, ooh, he's going to be the brooding bad boy of the group. But no, he's just the one who throws out the quips. Mm-hmm. Kind of the pretty boy. They paired him up with Torres for some reason. It sucks. I don't like him. Moving on. Next up is the Ranger. Good old Harry Kim. Always the first to see trouble coming. Very good at his job. No one ever appreciates him. This motherfucker always there in the clutch, and everyone's just like, oh, that's cute. Oh, the ensign did a trick. My entire personality is being legitimately angry. No one takes me seriously.
Oh.
And also, he's the guy who mans the sensors. So, he's out front looking out for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bard. Neelix. You know what? Not all bards use songs. Some use a good story. Does he kind of suck? Yeah, this is 4th edition. He can't really do anything. Do they try to make him the star every now and then? Sure. What is he best known for? The meme, Boston Neelix. You want some fucking soup? Don't know if you're familiar with this meme, but it's basically just taking GIFs of him from the show and adding in, expletive-laden Boston accented gooniness. Again, a character that maybe could have been interesting, but was always a little goofy from the word go. Mm-hmm. The Artificer Battle Mind Multiclass, 7 of 9. Basically, this is Kess re-rolled her character. Rest assured, she is still born sexy yesterday. More interesting than Kess, they basically put a lot more work into her. They also padded the fuck out of her chest, trying to make her like the sexy ice queen cyborg thing going on. When used well, she's the best part of the show. When not used well, it's a cringe factory. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Would be used later on better in other shows. On to Pathfinder. A bunch of people that were like, hey, all this new shit sucks. Why can't we just have what we used to love, but with new systems? It's the JJ movies. Not going to go through classes here because it's literally the same characters. They just give the black woman slightly more to do. Gamma World. This is Lower Decks. I love Lower Decks. There's no point in going through classes. What's a class? It's random as fuck. Everyone's insane. Yes, the guy on the right is covered in goo, wearing farmer's overalls. The green girl in blue there in one episode makes a dog, having never actually seen a dog before, only descriptions of human dogs, and doesn't realize that human dogs can't fly or talk or shapeshift. The show's insane. I love it. It's Gamma World.
Yep.
On to Role Playing is Back, baby. 5th edition. Star Trek Discovery.
Yep.
I forgot to animate a bunch of these, which is ruining my slow roll reveals. The Bard. This is the first 5th edition fixed a lot of the problems with the Bard, made it wholly viable. So viable, the Bard's the star of the show, baby. Michael Burnham.
Nice.
Why is she the star? Why is she a Bard? Because her number one stat is charisma. Mm-hmm. She knows Vulcan karate. She's cool, but mostly her superpower is no one can stay mad at her. In the first episode, she does a mutiny. Kind of starts the first Klingon war. And gets sentenced to life in prison. And by the second episode, she's been sprung and put back on a ship because people are like, oh, Michael, we just can't stay mad at you. Roll for forgiveness. Nat 20, baby. She will never ask for permission, ever. She'll be like, Captain, I have an idea. They'll be like, no, Michael, that's crazy. She'll be like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. Wait, where's Michael? God! Ooh! I love her. She kicks ass. The Sorcerer. Tilly! She's a genius. It's inborn. It's natural. But she works hard. God damn it. She does the homework. She feels feelings. She loves feeling those feelings. I love Tilly. She is the most human Star Trek character ever. Also, they go to the alternate universe at one point and they meet her alternate universe equivalent, who is a stark raving sociopath whose nickname is Killy. And I also love her. They are my daughters. Chuds get mad when I cuss. Fuck them. She was the first person to ever drop an F-bomb in Star Trek, and a lot of dumb people got mad about it. People don't expect much from her. She can't really take a hit, but by God, she pulls through in the clutch. The Warlock. Stamets, played by Anthony Rapp. Used to freak out about paying the rent, then I discovered shrooms. He's literally a mushroom doctor. He's a mycologist. He studies mushrooms. He also just figured out how to power a starship with mushrooms. Yep, fuck it. I love it. Discovery runs on shrooms. They just have a giant grow room where they build the shrooms that they then inject into him, and he trips out and they fly through the universe.
So is the patron in this scenario mushrooms?
The patron is actually a giant tardigrade whose DNA he injected into himself.
Okay.
And now his brain exists outside of the normal flow of time.
Okay.
What's the other name for water bears?
Yes.
For our listeners. That's what the tardigrade is.
Fun fact, the giant, it's like literally like a 7-foot tall tardigrade, which was in an episode, was originally supposed to become part of the crew. And we're like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, he'll be the navigator. And then the budget department was like, no, dog, no, this is TV. You cannot have a 100% computer generated non-anthropomorphic character sitting on the bridge all the time.
It would just have a little chair.
No, for real. There's art. They had like a 306 because they had controls that were designed to make use of all of his arms.
That would have been incredible.
It would have been incredible.
Oh,
amazing.
The cleric. He's the doctor. Hi, I'm the Warlock's boyfriend. Mind if I play healer? Sure. The actor does a great job with him. It's great seeing like an openly gay, like married couple living on the ship together. He's kind of Stamets' boyfriend. That's kind of mostly what he does. They try to he came back from the dead at one point. Like they fridged him, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, for real? You fridged your gay character?" But like he was coming back. Like they knew he was coming back. I don't know if that makes it better, but it is what it is. They're trying. Barbarian. Yeah, Misha Meow as Georgiou. In the first episode, she plays the captain that Michael Burnham does the coup against, and then she dies. Gets killed by a Klingon. But they bring Michelle Yeoh back because when they go to the mirror universe, they kind of kidnap the Empress of Earth, who is Georgiou. And then they just have, like, the mirror universe, I should have explained a while ago, is, of course, the classic, like Spock with a goatee, right? It's where the joke about, like, the one with the goatee is the evil one. It's a mirror universe where humans are, like, bloodthirsty conquerors. So she is the most bloodthirsty of them all. She conquered the entire planet. And then they bring her back and they just sort of keep her as a pet because they don't know what else to do with her. Like Starfleet's like, what the fuck? Georgiou's back alive? And they're just like, don't know how to explain that they kidnapped the Empress of an alternate universe. So they're like, yes. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic, obviously knows karate, and she's the one who's constantly just sitting there like, this would be much easier if we just killed them all.
She's basically
Alma for me and beg like a dog. That is just a quote from the show. And I would. FYI. The Wizard. Okay, so Saru, I meant to test these beforehand, and I didn't. He's the wizard because Saru thought that he was born to die. He's like, we're a prey species. We're meant to be eaten by the larger life forms in our ecosystem. And then he goes through puberty, which is basically leveling up as a wizard. And then all of a sudden, it turns out that he's a killer badass who can shoot poison spines from his head. All of this sounds weird and dumb and half thought out, and it is, but this is the character played by Doug Jones. So he's automatically one of my favorite. And I can't tell from here, he's like 9.5 feet tall. Like they took already tall Doug Jones, they put platform heels on him. And he just towers over everyone. It's a fantastic performance. Mostly his grand weakness is him more than anyone else cannot say no to Michael Burnham. It's just like, Michael, no. Michael, no. Michael, yes! Okay. And yeah, like a wizard, he started out weak as shit and then eventually becomes an insanely overpowered, almost like Mary Sue, like, oh yeah, he can run 90 miles an hour, he can like lift a tank, he can shoot poison spines from his head. But for some reason, none of this really affects his personality. He's just slightly more confident. I should state that I love Discovery. It's a mess. It's all about role playing. The mechanics are a goddamn disaster. Who cares? And the Druid, which is Michael Burnham's boyfriend, Book. He can literally talk to plants and animals. He has an enormous cat who is his real first love in life. He's hot as hell. I love him. He's great. I just don't know what else to say about him. If you want to be my lover, you got to get me. And I almost forgot the artificer of the group, Jet Reno, baby.
Oh, Tig.
The engineer, played by Tig Notaro, who is not in every episode, which is tragic because, like, it's Tig Notaro. She's got shit to do. She's amazing. This is literally just a quote from the show. I'm going. Get off my ass, sir. Get off my ass, sir. Also, a canonically gay character in Star Trek. So there's also a non-binary character in the most recent season. I'm not totally caught up for a lot of weird reasons, and I didn't know how to classify that character.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
And for those completists out there that are like, what about Enterprise? Well, Enterprise sucks ass, and I didn't want to have to think about it. And also, it just didn't map well onto any of the D&D editions.
No. I will say the Tig Notaro thing, it's part of, I don't know, like a sci-fi trend that's been happening lately. And it's part of the one where you also have Amy Sedaris as the character in The Mandalorian, where you basically have like funny women in sci-fi, which is a great trend, which needs to continue.
Mm.
Yeah, I love both those characters. Yeah, we just definitely need more Tig. Which, like, you don't even need her on set all the time, because now we know that science has invented the technology to replace any character with Tig Notaro.
Yeah.
And it should be done with at least one character in all movies and TV shows.
Exactly.
Everybody loves Raymond. Just do that, but replace the brother with Tig Notaro.
Replace Raymond with Tig Notaro. So I was kind of surprised that they didn't make Tig Notaro's character a Romulan or a Vulcan, but then I guess that would have ruined some of her like down-to-earthness. Because she's very stoic.
Yes.
Also, I don't think they could have gotten her in the chair for that long.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. No, you are not. Like, she is not going to put up with some Doug Jones level prosthetics.
No.
Like that's not how Tig roll.
Tig got places to be.
Yep.
Tig referred to herself in third person. That's amazing. She should do that all the time.
Yeah. She was literally introduced as like, oh, thank God, finally someone showed up to save us. Where she was an engineer who had rigged up like life support equipment to keep her injured shipmates alive. They're like, are you a doctor? She's like, no, I'm an engineer. But like, it's all the same. She is like the quintessential like blue collar Star Trek. She's sort of like Bones meets Scotty.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. That's all I got.
Well, Chris, thank you for taking us on that journey. That was actually...
We should not have let Sarah go first. We set the bar way too high.
That's it for Season 5, Episode 15 of Gateway Geeks Podcast, Dungeons and Dilithium with Chris Knetzer. Thanks for listening. Remember, you can find us on all of your listening platforms. This episode was with Sarah Jane Connor, Tracy Gomillion, Chris Knetzer, and Joe Kohlburn. It was edited by Joe, and it was produced by Chris Knetzer and Joe.